Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 6 to 10.
अजोऽपि सन्नव्ययात्मा भूतानामीश्वरोऽपि सन् प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय सम्भवाम्यात्ममायया यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय सम्भवामि युगे युगे जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन वीतरागभयक्रोधाः मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः.
Last week we had completed up to shloka number 8. In this shlokas from 1 to 8, Sri Krishna said that Veda Dwara, the enlightened souls have been from time immemorial passing on this knowledge to the world, to the qualified people. So that way, I, the enlightened self, gave the knowledge to Vivaswan, the very first being, sun god. He then passed it on to his son, who then passed it on to his son. Like that, the Guru Parampara continued. In other words, each one of them brought about transformation through the knowledge and then passed on the knowledge. They had value for this knowledge. Due to long lapse of time, this knowledge is lost, and that very same knowledge I gave it to you today because you are qualified. You have devotion and you have trust. You are a very good student. You are very well qualified. You are a bhakta and also a friend. Therefore, I gave it to you. Then Arjuna asks, how is it possible that you gave it to Vivaswan in the beginning and now you are giving to me, while I know your birth is recent? Then Sri Krishna says, many janmas of mine and yours have gone by. You do not know them, while I know them all. Because he is identifying with consciousness and speaking, while Arjuna is identifying with the body-mind-intellect complex. Like you and me, all of us, we are only represented by Arjuna. So we are all identifying with body-mind-intellect complex. Whereas Sri Krishna or any enlightened soul, they only identify with the pure consciousness within. They do not identify with the body-mind-intellect complex. So from that angle, I know the past, I know the present, and I know the future. Because all the beings of the past were enlivened by the Atma. Beings of the present are also enlivened by the Atma. Beings of the future will also be enlivened by the Atma. That way Atma knows the past, present and future. So when the Atma enlivens through the individual, and when that individual through the knowledge dissolves the ego and realizes the self, thereafter it is the self that is communicating the knowledge. Only to the extent you have unfolded the self, you can communicate this self. So this he beautifully explains by explaining the concept of avatara in shloka number 6, 7, 8. In 6, he explains the concept of avatara, and then in 7 and 8, he explains when that avatara happens and why it happens. This much we have seen. So he says, animating my own prakriti, I am born by my own maya, and time and again I am born. So what he's saying is, the pure consciousness, when it identifies with the inner potential, the Shakti, it manifests as this universe, the individual beings. Now, the individual beings do not know this. We are conditioned by that potential called Maya, which has Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Avarana means veiling power, and Vikshepa means manifesting power. So now, through the Avarana Shakti, we are all covered. We are ignorant of this fact that we are essentially divine. We are essentially Atma. So therefore, we are conditioned to this particular personality. Therefore, we do not know the past, present, and future. Whereas the enlightened souls, avatars, they don't identify with this body, mind, intellect. They identify with consciousness. So they know the past, present, and future, is what he said. So, pure consciousness expressing through Maya is this entire universe and each one of us. We do not know while they know, because the Avarana Shakti does not bind, cover the avatars. And using the Vikshepa Shakti, they come and do what has to be done and they go. This is what he said. So like I said, wherever there is demand, there will be supply. Whenever the adharma takes over, then this need comes, then this happens. So he said, avatars come into existence when there is this demand. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi bhavati. Whenever dharma is obscured, covered by adharma, adharma takes over. When adharma starts reigning supreme, dharma is in decline. Then he says, I manifest. I manifest doesn't mean Vishnu manifests or like that. You don't have to understand. The Shakti is used to set the things right, balance. So we give the example of our physical body. When some unwanted stuff has entered our body through the mouth, immediately the body throws it out. So like that, to set right, this avatara happens. Things get settled. And how does it settle? Why this avatara happens? He says, Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samsthapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. Please understand, the Gita started with the word dharma. You understand? When in the first shloka, which is actually Dhritarashtra asking Sanjaya, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. So how does the Gita start? It starts with the word dharma. The balance has to be maintained throughout. Individual level and at the total level. So he says, the beings with awareness, they don't have any personal motive. They don't act on desires. That's what we explain technically by saying they don't have individual karma. They don't have vyashti karma. They work on samashti karma, meaning the environmental vasanas. They don't have any karma. Like you and me, we are born because of our papa punya of the past, because of our karma. Whereas avatara is not come into existence because of vyashti karma. It is due to the samashti karma. So they, with awareness, they come and establish dharma in whichever way. So that's why I said you don't have to go into Puranas and consider only those expressions of divinity as avatars that is mentioned there. Many more avatars has happened, are happening, may happen, you may not know. And from a different angle, everything is an expression of that divinity only. You understand? Everything is an expression of that divinity only. So from that way, that angle, all of us are divinity. Only thing, we are individuals, Jiva, we are covered by Maya or Vasanas. So therefore, he said, what do? They protect Dharma. Now, Dharma is not an object to protect it. You understand? What is Dharma? Dharma means values, principles, righteousness. So Dharma is protected by people who uphold the principles, by people who uphold the values. So therefore, when he says, Paritranaya sadhunam, he says, I protect the sadhus, people who protect Dharma. You understand? Those people who protect Dharma, I protect them. What protects Dharma? The sattvic nature. So therefore, a person who's awakened to that Turiya state, it's not state technically, though we use the word state. State means waking, dream, and deep sleep. Waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Waking, dream, deep sleep. These we call as states, conditioned consciousness. Pure consciousness, which is beyond, which is both transcendent and immanent, which is in this waking, dream, and deep sleep, and also beyond. That is called Turiya. You understand? That pure consciousness. What does it do? It, when to the extent your consciousness is awakened, those whose consciousness is awakened, they only want to protect and increase sattva. In fact, when we awaken our consciousness from within, and to the extent we have awakened our consciousness from within, then we understand, really speaking, the goal of life is to rise from tamas to rajas to sattva, and when we bring ourselves to 100% sattva, sattva alone cannot exist. It has to exist with rajas and tamas. Now, only sattva doesn't exist. So, when you bring yourself to 100% sattva, what happens? You go beyond sattva. You reach the state of sattva atita, guna atita you become. You transcend gunas. You transcend even sattva and realize the self. So, therefore, he says, paritranaya sadhuna, protecting sattva, sattvic people, anything that promotes sattva. So, from that angle, Shastras need to be protected. The word Shastra means what? Teach and protect. Rather than learning through the expensive way of experience. The great masters, from their experience, they have imparted this knowledge. So, all we need to do is study, approach, learn, and then live so that we don't have to make those mistakes. You understand? Waste our time. So, Shastras, they teach and protect. They're like tree. Anyone who goes under the tree, they will be given shade. Similarly, it doesn't matter who you are, what caste you belong to. If you come to Shastra, it will protect you. So that Shastra needs to be protected if you want to protect Dharma. You understand? And how the Shastra will be protected? Not by just saving the books and writing more books, by living that knowledge. So each one of us who are attending class and even speaking, talking on the subject, all of us need to understand that we have this onus of trying to live this knowledge as much as possible. So he says, this is how Dharma can be protected. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam. Right? So destruction of the evil, dushkrita. Now, destruction doesn't mean just the physical destruction. You physically, for example, if you suppress yourself from doing something, has the desired vasanas gone? Supposing you have vasanas to murder somebody. If you have the vasana to murder, and if you suppress it, externally you don't do anything, you somehow suppress yourself, will the vasanas go away? In fact, it increases. So Destruction doesn't mean physical destruction. When it is unavoidable extreme state, the balance will make sure that also happens. But destruction here means conversion, transformation. Please understand. You understand? Transformation from tamas to rajas, from rajas to sattva, and from sattva to trans sattva. That is what he's saying. We have to keep on escalating ourselves. We have to destroy the evil vasanas. So through knowledge, through love and service. These are the three methods that any Mahatma will use. Through knowledge, through love, through service. They try to bring about transformation in the total conscience of beings. You understand? So, vinashaya cha dushkritam. And when you do this, what happens? Dharma samsthapanarthaya. Automatically, when you increase sattva, reduce rajas and tamas, what happens? Dharma will be established. There will be balance. Things will flourish. Everything will grow. Otherwise, only ego will grow. So when you lose dharma, what happens? You want to grow, which is not growth actually, it's swelling, at the cost of growth of the world. And that's what all that is being portrayed in our Puranas and all that as asuras and rakshasas. All these asuras and rakshasas, who are they? They are only feeding their ego. So when you get acquainted, exposed to knowledge, or even when you get exposed to a being of higher consciousness, a person, you come in contact with that person, that knowledge, love, and service of that person is infectious. Understand? It brings about transformation. This is what I explained, I think, in one of the classes. I don't remember which class. Village Preacher poem. Maybe in this class only I quoted it. That village preacher, he, there's a beautiful line in that poem. Is Oliver Goldsmith, the poet, he says, fools who came to scoff remain to pray. The fellows, when he was preaching in the church, when few people had come to just scoff at him, see how he'll speak, see what mistakes he'll make in English language, whatever, Sanskrit, whatever, So people who came to scoff, they also remained to pray. Beautifully it is. In other words, when you get closer and closer to fire, you also become fire. It is unavoidable. It is so infectious. That's why Adi Shankara says, Satsangatve Nisangatvam Nisangatve Nirmohatvam Nirmohatve Nishalatatvam Nishalatatve Jivan Muktihi. In Bhajagovindam, which is also called as Moha Mudgara, Adi Shankaraji beautifully says, Satsangatve Nisangatvam. The starting point is satsang, good company. Only through good company at all levels. Good company doesn't mean only people. Good company at all levels. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, actions, people, books, food. Everything has to be conducive for the promotion of sattva as much as possible. You understand? Our lifestyle should get converted for the promotion of sattva-ness. It's the only goal we have. So, you may ask, how? If my sattva increases, how am I benefiting the world? I explained this already to you. When your sattva increases, it is impossible that you can be selfish. You try. Impossible. With awareness, you can't do anything negative. Impossible. So that's why we have to increase sattva. So he says, Varitranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So you find so many masters have visited not only this country, throughout the world at different times, periodically, and through Jnana Marga, through love, Bhakti Marga, through Karma Marga, Seva. They have been constantly uplifting this world. You understand? And this happens to set the balance. That's what he says. So, this is the purpose of Avatara, he explained. Now, what is the use of knowing all this? How this is going to help me directly or indirectly in my material world as well as spiritual evolution? That's the question we have, no? So that he answers in the next shloka, shloka number 9. Let's chant verse number 9.
जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यं येवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन.
He says, he who knows thus my divine birth and action in true light, whoever understands how the Brahman, Atman manifests, which is what he refers to as birth, and identifying with the Prakriti world, how the expressions of actions happen. What is the relationship of Brahman to action, Atman to action? If you understand that in true light, in essence, he who knows thus my divine birth and action in true light, such a person, what that person will do instantaneously, immediately, having abandoned the body. Now, these words, abandoned and all, should be understood correctly. Tyaktva. Tyaktva means crossing over the body. You understand? Rising above the body, which is what is translated here as abandoned. Having abandoned the body, such a person is not born again. Is not born again. There is no more birth. And what happens to that fellow then, if he is not born again? Has he gone into thin air? He says, no, he comes to me, O Arjuna. Arjuna, such a person merges with me. He is liberated. So, what is the benefit of knowing all these things, understanding all these things, and making it our own? He says, you attain moksha. That's the benefit. So, the sadhanam is knowledge, and moksha is the sadhya. So, this is why in Tamil there's a beautiful Tirukural. It says, Karka means learn. Kasadu ara, without any doubt. Karka kasadara, karpavai, that which has to be learnt. Katrapin, having learnt that which has to be learnt, having learnt that. Nirka, adarku taga, means live according to that. Beautiful verse in Tamil Tiruvalluvar says, Karka, kasadu ara, karpavai katrapin, nirka adarku taga. Means we need to know what we should learn. All kinds of things we are learning. What are all the magazines you have subscribed? I have no idea. You understand? And all gossiping magazines are very stimulating to our mind. It feeds us with all the non-essentials, but it's very stimulating. Maybe you have subscribed for all those kind of things. But they are not going to help you. This is exactly what Bhajagovindam Adi Shankaracharya says. Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam, Govindam Bhaja. Samprapte sannihite kale, nahi nahi rakshati dukrin karane. When the appointed time comes, none of this will help you. What will help you is only this knowledge. Only this knowledge can give you liberation. For that, what you have to understand? This you must understand. The knowledge of the self, knowledge of the pure consciousness, Brahman, and how it has manifested as this world, and how the nature of the individual and the nature of the Ishvara is one. Jiva, Ishvara, Aikya, Sambandha. You should understand how the essential nature of Ishvara and the essential nature of the individual is one should be understood. Only to that extent you will awaken. Otherwise, you'll be lingering in this world and increasing more and more vasanas. So he says, Janma karmacha me divyam. One who knows, he who knows. He who knows means whoever. See, that's why we say this knowledge is universal. It's, if you're qualified, even if you happen to be born in a jati called Shudra, later on we will discuss about jati and all that. It's coming. Verse number 13 say. So I will explain all that. It doesn't matter where you are. He says. He doesn't say Brahmana. He doesn't say Kshatriya. He doesn't say specifically. He says, he who knows my divine birth thus. Thus means what was explained in verse number 6. Remember that. Understand what we discussed in verse number 6. Thus, when you understand the birth, the manifestation of the divinity, everything is nothing but a divinity that is splashed. Right? The problem is we are covered by ignorance. Therefore, we don't know. But those who through Shastra, in Saturday morning, 8 to 9 class, we are studying Tattva Bodha. So, in yesterday's class also, we were seeing the qualifications of a student. At the beginning, he gives Adhikaritvam. So, there he talks about Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. All this we were seeing. So, when you gain these qualities that qualifies you to gain the knowledge, you will, through Shraddha, you will put in effort, ask the right questions, do manana, and put it into practice and make this knowledge your own. You understand what is the connection between Atma and action. And this is going to be the topic from verse number 11. He is introducing that now. See, it's a beautiful thought flow. That's why Swamiji, through his research, has given us in topics. So the next topic is slowly taking us into what is that? How the self relates to action. By understanding this, what happens? We will also be relating with action accordingly, objectively, by which what happens? We don't create more vasanas and exhausting the existing vasanas. God plus vasanas equals man. Man minus vasanas equals God. So by exhausting vasanas, you get back to the self. That's what he's saying. He who knows thus my divine birth and action in true light. When you understand it in true light, then true light means in essence, not just superficially. I have attended class, I understood. By the time you have your breakfast after the class, this will be gone. You understand? So you have to make it your own. That's what he means by essence. Transformation. What happens to such persons? Having abandoned the body. Now, this having abandoned the body is generally explained as Videha Mukti. Mukti means liberation. Attaining liberation. There are two concepts that we discuss generally called Jivan Mukti or Jivan Mukta and Videha Mukta. Jivan Mukti means attaining liberation while living. Videha Mukti means liberation after physical death. Now, we say the concept of Jivan Mukti because if not, then all these Shastras, who's given us these Shastras? If somebody dies and then they're liberated, those people, who's going to come and give you the Shastra then? Because they're not going to take birth again. So liberation during life is the concept, Jivan Mukta. Such a person having liberated. Now this has to be understood again. We have a lot of vasanas, total vasanas. They're called Sanchita. From that, some has manifested, brought us to this birth called Prarabdha. And when that prarabdha happened to be human birth, we have choice to increase and add to sanchita or decrease the sanchita. Prarabdha we have to go through, experience and exhaust. But sanchita we can exhaust or increase. So when we living, many of us, what do? We add to sanchita, keep on adding. Then when the prarabdha is exhausted, we die. Then accordingly, the next prarabdha comes and then we take birth. Again, we take birth. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, it goes on. But if through Shastra, through all this understanding, I exhaust the existing vasanas and I don't create fresh vasanas, I exhaust all my sanchita, then for all practical purposes, I am realized soul. Such a person is called Jivan Mukta. Such a Jivan Mukta only thereafter functions in the world due to prarabdha. For all practical purposes, the person is realized, liberated. They are just exhausting the prarabdha. When the prarabdha also completely gets exhausted through experience, then they are not born again. Such people are called Videha Mukti, Muktis, who have attained Videha Mukti. So having abandoned body, if it is physical body literally, then it refers to Videha Mukti. But having abandoned to body can also be taken as what? Having stopped identifying with body. Today we identify with our body. Our body means what? Not just physical body. This body has come from my parents. So I identify with my parents. And the bodies which has come through my parents, my siblings, I identify. Then the body that has come through me, my children, my grandchildren. So beyond my family, I can't think. My consciousness is conditioned within this circle. Very narrow. You understand? Whereas once you gain that higher knowledge, you transformed yourself to the super consciousness, you are identifying with the super consciousness or pure consciousness, then you thereafter don't identify with this body anymore. So Ramtita, if you happen to go to Rishikesh, you must ask for the place where Swami Ramtita lived. There's Vashishta Gufa and many places. Please visit them, but definitely you should visit where Ramtita lived, Swami Ramtita lived. It is such a simple place. Unfortunate for us that at the age of 32 he gave up the body. He was living on the banks of Ganges. They call it as Ramtirtha Gufa, but it's not Gufa. It is just big boulders, and on top of it there's another boulder. So it's that small place he was living on the banks of Ganges. And he was a swimmer also, so he used to swim in the Ganges every now and then. One day before going to swimming, the current was very high. So he wrote down, it seems, "O death, if you wish to take this body, you please take it. I have many more bodies through which I can function." And he went into swimming. He attained Jala Samadhi. He never came back. This is what the story is. So they are not identified with the body anymore. They rise above the body, mind, intellect. That's why the greater the goal, the greater the energy. If your vision is so small, so narrow-minded, you don't think big. You always think small. मुझे क्या होगा, मेरा family को क्या होगा? All the time, if you keep thinking like that, no narrow-mindedness. So we need to build our thoughts to that level. So a person who's risen to that height abandons identification not only with the gross body, with the subtle body. Gross body is the physical body. Subtle body, the mind and intellect and all the thoughts. Then causal body, the vasanas. He or she identifies only with consciousness. They abandon the identification with the body thereafter. Abandon doesn't mean they don't take care of the body. Of course they will take it. Upanishadic, invocation is this. Om apyayantu mamangani vak pranaschakshush shrotramato balamindriyani cha sarvani. They are praying for the bhalam of the indriyas. So they are taking care of it. They protect it. It's not like they have abandoned it. So abandoned means whole day, only thinking about body, waiting, observing, standing in front of the mirror, coloring the hair, and after that also you standing there. Why? By the evening, supposing one hair turns grey, that also you want to color. If you are in such a profession where you need to color your hair, please do. It's a separate thing. Because that profession demands that whatever it is. That's a different thing. But 24/7 all the time, just thinking about body, 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 body. You put on weight, you lost weight, this thing that rise above the body. Na? Transforming the body doesn't mean going from fat body to lean body. Of course, that is healthy. But transforming the body means not just going from fat body to lean body. It is going beyond the body. You understand? So having abandoned the body, such a person is not born again. Because when the cause is not there, how the effect will be there? The cause is vasanas. The effect is birth. You are born in this classroom from 11 to 12 on Sundays because you have vasana to study Gita. Now, if you don't have vasana to study Gita, why will you be born here? If you have, supposing, vasanas to make cakes, and supposing there's another class, online class, how to make cake, you would have enrolled there. You will be born there. Each one of us are born in the environment, born in the particular body, everything happening according to our vasanas, which comes from the root vas, which means fragrance, our inner temperament, innate nature. You understand? So therefore he says, such a person having exhausted all the vasanas, meaning all the sanchita vasanas, only prarabdha is going on. That will get exhausted through action, experience. So for all practical purposes, they've exhausted all the vasanas. And when prarabdha is also exhausted, thereafter they are not born again. Why? He has come to me. He has come to me. Me does not mean Krishna or the place where Krishna resides. It's up to you how you want to interpret. Now, what does it mean? Comes to me. Means what? Comes to this understanding that I am that me, the pure consciousness. All these days, out of foolishness, I've been thinking myself to be this limited individual. Therefore, I was bound. Now I understand. I free myself. No. A sage, while he was traveling in a kingdom, the king, having come to know that the great sage is traveling in his kingdom, he approached him and said, please come and stay in our palace. He went and stayed there. In the room where he stayed, there was a parrot that was caged. There was a cage and the parrot was inside. And parrot, recognizing the sage, spoke to the sage and said, see, I was happily in the forest, flying, enjoying. I was brought by this king and put in this cage. I want to free myself. The sage said, drop dead. Just he said, drop dead. Parrot understood. And immediately the parrot dropped dead. So when the fellow who comes to feed the parrot every day, he opened the cage, the parrot flew away. You understand? Because he thought it's dead. He opened and he went to see, bring something to remove the dead body. By the time the parrot flew away. In other words, we have identified with the body. We have become this body. We have to drop dead with reference to this body through the knowledge. then we can fly, liberate ourselves. We are already liberated. We are nitya muktaha. But out of ignorance, we are all caged like the parrots in this body. So he says, such a person comes to me. He attains my being. He becomes Brahman. That's what it means. He is thereafter not born again. Once you know that you are the divinity, why would you have vasanas to be born again? You reach that state. That's what he says. Oh Arjuna. He continues.
वीतरागभयक्रोधाः मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः.
He says, how did that person rise above the body? How did he gain this knowledge? You gain this knowledge, you rise above the body and you attain moksha. How to gain this knowledge? He explains that step by step in this verse. He says, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. Raga means attachment. You understand? And when you have attachment to anything, what will happen? Bhaya comes. If there is no attachment, no bhaya. If there is attachment, there is bhaya. Even in this spiritual field, if as a teacher, if I am attached to the students, there will be fear. Will these students come next week? Will they continue to listen? Attachment will bring in fear. Madiyila ganam, vadiyila bhayam. If there is ganam means burden in your heart, then only there will be fear. So if you are attached, there will be fear. And anyone who obstructs your desire, there will be krodha. You keep fulfilling your attachments. Whatever your mind gets attached and asks for, you keep fulfilling. You're afraid whether it will be fulfilled. It will be taken away. And anyone who comes in between, you develop krodha. So he's talking about all the modifications, desire and its modifications. That's what it means. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Means what? One who is freed from desire, fear and anger. How do you free from desire, fear and anger? You have to understand how desire is caused. Ignorance of our true self. Because of the ignorance of our true nature, which is infinite, we think we are finite, this limited personality, and we feel insecure. And to deal with that insecurity, our thoughts run towards the world outside. And the thoughts running from us to the world outside is called desire. So if you want to free from desire, you have to free yourself from ignorance. How you can free yourself from ignorance? You can free yourself from ignorance only through knowledge. But for that knowledge, you need to purify. Therefore, you have to do karma yoga. Turn unselfish. When you become constructive, no bhayam. When you are destructive, selfish, ignorant, there will be bhayam. Nobody can help you. So through karma yoga, which means what? Just leading a dharmic lifestyle. You understand? Not just for me. We work for we, collective. The entire universe has been constantly catering to me. So I also have an obligation to cater to the universe. So with this understanding, he said, no, parasparam bhavayantaha. Remember, we studied that in chapter 3, verse 11. When we studied about yajna. Parasparam bhavayantaha. May you offer the gods and may gods offer you. May you nourish gods and may gods nourish you. We talked about it. So, that is called karma yoga, dharmic living. Arpana bhav, with that you do your actions dedicatedly, and whatever comes you accept as prasad. So this through karma yoga, you become freed from desire. The bulk of the desire goes through action. Initially, you have too many desires. It won't even allow you to gain knowledge. So, what Shastra says, it's okay, you have desires. You give them a higher direction, set a higher goal, and work for that. And from that, you fulfill your desires dharmically. That's the Grahastha Ashrama. Grahastha Ashrama is what? An ashrama given to stage to fulfill your desires dharmically. You understand? So, thus, you rise above the desires. So, it is referring to Karma Yoga. Manmaya, Mam Upashritaha. Manmaya means one who is absorbed in me. Understand? Absorbed. And Mam Upashritaha, one who has taken complete refuge in divinity. So, this is referring to Bhakti. Tera na mera. A total identification with that divinity through bhakti, absorbed in me. You understand? See, we have what is called as karma yoga, which you do through physical body. Then upasana, which you do through mind. And he is referring to that upasana yoga or bhakti yoga. And then he says, Bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhava magata. Bahavoho, many people, it doesn't say all, many people, through this method of practicing karma yoga, purifying themselves, and practicing bhakti yoga, and bringing themselves to single pointedness. Karma yoga gives you chitta shuddhi, bhakti yoga, upasana gives you chitta ekagrata, and then they come to what? Jnana tapasa. Tapas. Tapas means what? You understand the value of the higher. So you have to direct your body, mind, intellect towards the higher. But now the mind is going to the body and the material things. It has become the adat for the body to go to the material things, habit. So what you do? You do all kinds of things to train it, to withdraw it from the worldly things. By itself, it should not go. When it's needed, it can go. You allow it to go. But otherwise, by itself, it doesn't go. You pull it from that and then direct it towards the higher. So, conservation of energy that is getting dissipated in the lower channels and direct the conserved energy towards the higher. That's called tapas. So, these people, through karma yoga and bhakti yoga, they conserved the energy and directed that in the jnana tapas. In the tapas called jnana tapas. Understand? Tapas means effort. Tapas means sacrifice. So that's you put in that effort in that direction. It's a big tapas. It's not easy, isn't it? You have to do karma yoga, you have to do jnana, bhakti yoga, and then you have to come to jnana yoga. You have to listen, and then you have to put in effort. Mananam you have to do, and then you have to do nitidhyasanam again and again. You have to go through that. Now, therefore, he says it is a tapas. And tapas is that which you do willingly, with understanding. You know, that maturity is needed. When that maturity comes, you put that effort. You put yourself into that discipline. So that's what he's saying, jnana tapasa, in the fire of knowledge. That purifies you completely. Initial purification happens in bhakti yoga and jnana yoga. Chitta shuddhi and chitta ekagrata. And then through jnanam, total purification happens. When you put gold in fire, it gets purified. Like that, when you put yourself into the fire of knowledge, you get completely purified. So that's what he's saying. Bhagavo jnana tapasa, puta, purified. Madbhavam agata, and reached by being. They have identified with the consciousness and they have become the consciousness. That's what it is. Hanumanji in Ramayana, he tells this to Lord Ram. He says, when I look at you from my body, I am your sevak. I serve you. When I look at you from my mind, I am part of you. When I look at you from the Atma, I am you, you are me. There's no difference. Deha bhave dasosmi, jiva bhave tvadamshakaha, atma bhave tvameva aham. You understand? So, through this method of karma, bhakti, gyan, this we have to constantly do. Karma, bhakti, gyan doesn't mean, okay, initially you only do karma, then after so many years you'll do bhakti, and then after so many years you'll take up jnana. It's not like that. To the extent you do karma yoga, you get purified and you improve the quality of your desires through bhakti, you reduce the bulk of your desires in karma yoga. Then you change the quality of your desires in bhakti yoga. Right? Then you give a completely higher supreme direction to your desires in jnana yoga, and then the desires drop completely. You become purified. Putaha means purified. You become free from all the vasanas, ignorance. You are thereafter not ignorant. You understand that I am only this consciousness. Unnecessarily, I identified with this body, mind, and intellect and reduced myself to this level. You become purified. You become purified means you become unconditioned. Thereafter, there is no more condition. You become totally free, no conditioning. And such a person has attained my being, is become one with me. Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives a beautiful example. He says, when a salt doll made of salt, is taken to the ocean, and when the doll touches the ocean, what happens to the doll? It loses the individuality and becomes the total. The individual form is gone, with the form name is gone. You understand? The names and forms are transcended. That's what it means. Madbhavam agataha means what? He transcends the names and forms, which is the world. He goes beyond the samsaric world. Thereafter, he'll not be in the bondage anymore. He becomes free. This is in our head, this bondage. He becomes completely free. That's what he means by saying, attains my being. He becomes like me. He becomes me. Meaning, thereafter, no more bondage. Nothing binds, nothing taints. That is the state you can reach. Let's conclude the class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.